Hi, welcome to Live Dungeons and Dyslexia. I'm joined with Troy Mepyans, the incredibly talented creator of Ashland and The Good, the Bad, and the Savage. Welcome, Troy, or the Marshal, as I should call you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. He's called the Marshal because of, I guess, love of Westerns, and that's what you go by as my Discord. So
I've got the badge. I'm official.
you have, and sadly, you had to take your hat off for sound quality reasons. So
sacrifices must be made.
Yeah. Oh, we got people in. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So you should be able to see all the names down there now, Troy. Yeah.
You
see all the comments.
Yet.
Okay, you might need to click back
there
on comments.
Yeah, you got here it. We are. Yep.
There you go. Cool. Perfect. So yeah. So we have got a few books to get through. Ashland's I'm going to start with, and then obviously the one that's blown up massively for you, I think, at this moment in time on Drive Through RPG is The Good, the Bad, and the Savage. And then you've got another 2 books in that, so we will go through those during this interview. But as ever, I just want to, do you want to sort of introduce yourself to everyone and sort of tell me a little bit about your sort of background and how you got into this?
Okay. Got into role-playing games. My older brother actually picked up a box set of basic D&D 79. So cut my teeth with that. AD&D first edition. Ended up doing, Gangbusters and Top Secret. You name it, anything TSR put out with it, just devoured it. Then I got into Star Trek with FASA. Shadowrun came out, so I got into that first edition. So I've been there for the whole duration on that one. But as far as writing goes, started writing back in high school, just, short stories. I wanted to be, techno thrillers were the big thing then. So I was doing, a little short story techno thriller stuff and just kind of testing my chops at that point. But it was 09. I was working retail and I made a map on a napkin and just kept asking myself, what happened here? What happened here? What happened here? And sat down at the keyboard, and 30 days later, I'd written an over 500-page novel.
Wow.
I'd never written anything that fast before or since.
Yeah. Cool. And where did that, how did that end up for you as the first one?
I ended up publishing it through Lulu.com. Finished a trilogy of it. So I had 3 that I put out. And they've done all right. They're on, Amazon, that kind of thing. Every now and then I make a sale, but I like going back and reading them. It's fun. I wrote them as much for myself as I did for anybody else.
Yeah, Amazon's brutal, isn't it? I've got a couple of friends that have put things on Amazon exclusively, and it has this weird thing of doing, you're the top. As soon as it goes on, it seems to promote you and go, you're the top seller this week or whatever, and then it just hides you in the algorithm if it's not picked up.
Yeah.
But there's something I remember my mate was saying about it. There's thousands of books go on Amazon a day. It's that competitive on there.
Oh yeah, and now that self-publishing is a thing, there's really nothing stopping somebody who wants to write a book.
Yeah,
you may not sell it, but
there's all those adverts floating around as well, isn't there? It's like, oh, I now live in Australia, and all I do is I sell books. There's a guy, and he used to do one of those intelligent quiz shows, and he was talking about the top 20 selling books on Amazon at this moment in time to sort of teenagers. The top 16 are made with AI.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
It's absolutely shocked me.
Oh,
so because I'm so far behind when it comes to AI and things like that. So
yeah, I've learned it because my wife supports me, but doesn't understand what I do. So to have, a sounding board, something that I can just kind of whiteboard with
Yeah.
is pretty much how I use it. It's a tool that I use for brainstorming and that kind of thing.
And I'm just going to share this one from RX. So it doesn't play Savage. So I've played Drowned World with RX, which is but he is he's going to like this because straight cowboy stuff. Well, it's not quite straight cowboy, but it's actually a rarity, and we're going to come on to the Good, the Bad, and Savage towards the end because I want to start with Ashland, which is the book that I really fell in love with. But before we get into that, what made you switch then from sort of traditional writing? What made you sort of get up one day and go, do you know what? I've got this world I want to write, and because it was Ashlands was your first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd done a D&D pair of adventures for D&D with my best friend John Netto. And that really didn't do a whole lot. Unfortunately, it's so, the D&D especially is just so overflowing with content.
Yeah.
And if you can't afford $10,000 to $20,000 in art, forget it. But it let me get my foot in the door with Modiphius when Star Trek Adventures came out. And I had been in on the play test, and they put out an ad looking for, writers, artists, that kind of thing. So I sent something in just saying, hey, I'd be interested. And Sam Webb for Modiphius was in charge of Trek at the time, and wrote me back, said, oh yeah, get me your CV, and we'll take a look at it. And I said, sure, I'll get you that. And disconnected and went, what the hell's a CV? I had to look it up.
Yeah.
But
corporate speak.
Yeah, I ended up, I had a plot already written and sent that in, and Sam jumped on it. And by that time they were bringing Jim Johnson on board as line editor. And it just kind of took off after that. And I wrote for Star Trek Adventures all the way through second edition core rulebook.
Yeah. Cool. Because you still play Star Trek, don't you?
We just wrapped up our series. Wrapped up. 5 years, 5.5.
5.5. Were you captain?
I was.
You were captain. Did you get to sort of, because whenever we do any sort of military, I count Star Trek as military because you've got ranking. Did you manage to play captain well and everyone accept it, where you would just occasionally pull rank and go, I don't care what you kind of think. This is what I think. And because they have to be played that way.
Yep.
And our group, live group, kind of struggle with it. And
it happened rarely. Thankfully I had a very, very good crew. But, there were times where it was just like, I understand you have misgivings. And one was it was an executive officer I had before Al Spader took over, and dragging their feet on what I wanted, them and my security chief. And I finally took them aside and said, look, you are treading dangerously close to insubordination. I understand you don't want to do this. It's noted. But I have had to do the same thing in the past. You put your head down, you do your job.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. See, we don't really get those moments in these games. And I've just picked up second edition Star Trek because I've heard, well, it's your fault that I like 2D20 because of Ashland, and then Al for Sentience.
Yeah.
And obviously we both played in Al's Sentience game. And I was like, so this is how 2D20 is meant to be played. Because with a great GM, it's a great system. With a bad GM, it's a terrible system.
And Michael Weissmuth was our GM, and I have not encountered a better storyteller.
No, yeah, and because you've got to spend time, and this is what because I'm currently running. I'm 2 weeks in to run in the starter set for Acton Cthulhu, which is an amazing world, and all the time I'm pretty much making my group roll at least 3d20, if not more. Because the first time I ever played it, you're rolling 2d20 and you don't sort of generate anything. You're too scared to use momentum.
Yeah.
But yeah, second edition Star Trek looks really good. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I've gone all in on it because I'm not very good. I've bought that. There's a technical book, the starter set, the Games Master screen that I need to tell my wife
if you
what
like
it
the
turns up.
timeline in the end, that was my baby.
Right. Okay. Good. So yeah, I'm going to tell my wife that Modifius sent me that for free, unless she happens to. She won't watch this. So hold on. Sorry. Thank you. My ear trumpet has been struck by lightning. I got it right first time. I've never managed to get his name off because I get to about the third word and then it all goes completely wrong. So and I'm sure he just keeps testing me to get me to do it. So right, Ashlands then.
Yeah.
Let's. So, is that why you picked 2D20? Actually, talk us through the world, because the world setting for me. Because I did a review of this. This was I think it was one of the first books the Yellow Hand ever sent me. And well, he sent me a 3, and I went, "That's the one I want to read after the first playthrough." And what I love is the fact it's probably one of the most different end world apocalyptic events that I've ever read. Because and I'll let you explain it, because you can probably explain it far better than I will. And I'll start showing off some of the book.
There you go. Basically, it got going because of the World Builder 2D20 program that Modifius came out with, and they did that. I mean, that was direct result of Wizards of the Coast little stunt, with the whole OSR and all that. And Modifius released 2D20 as an OSR, and Al Spader and I both started Sentience and Ashland almost side by side. So we kind of helped each other get across the finish line with them. But believe it or not, Ashland started 12 years before that as a dream, a literal ahead of that night dream, where I remember looking out over Lake Michigan. It was a dry lake bed, and wondering what happened. And the only snippets I remember is hearing the blaze, and the character that's in there, Neil Armstrong Savage. I remember that name, but I didn't think about it because I tried to make it a novel, and I just couldn't do anything with it. And I was racking my brain trying to think of something I wanted to do for the 2D20, and all of a sudden it popped into my head. You've got this scenario, you wanted to explore it, here's your way to do it. And Ashland was born.
Yeah, so do you want to sort of explain the blaze? Because
sure.
I'm hoping it just stays as a dream, and this isn't you see.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
Well, actually, on the timeline, we'll be dead, so it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Let the grandkids deal with it.
Yeah.
Basically, what it ended up coming down to, and I did ungodly amounts of research on this. Mankind, this is about 100 years in the future, 2123. 50 years before that, man had figured out how to drill through the Earth's crust and tap into the mantle to use the mantle for geothermal energy. So geothermal energy in that capacity and that quantity would have essentially solved the energy crisis for the entire planet. And you would have had free energy to spare. So mankind is patting itself on the back, thinking, hey, we finally did it. And pretty much the universe went, that's cute. Watch this. And they, in 2123, they detected a large asteroid, which, if anybody knows anything about tracking celestial objects, it is a cast iron bear to try to find an asteroid or see it. We've had so many of them, pass by, and we didn't even see them until they were already past us. This one was about the size of the one that destroyed the dinosaurs. Iron core, so very dense. And the the military complex and scientific complex tried to deflect it by basically launching everything we had at it. And, it really didn't do anything. So on the eve of impact, scientific community wanted, the word to go out, hey, this is coming. And the military and political machine went, what's the point? We tell them they're still going to die. So we don't tell them at least half of them die in their sleep. They're not going to be terrified for however long until this thing hits. So the scientists retreated to there had been underwater arcologies built, within the last 50 years for, environmental research, that kind of thing. So they retreated to those. And of course, the military had their own, holes in the ground that they could dive into. The asteroid hit, I believe it was August 30 or August 31st, 2123, almost exactly the same place that the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs hit. And when the one that hit, billions of years ago, struck the Earth, it rang the Earth like a bell. Basically, just vibrated it. Well, now you have a planet that has hundreds of holes through the crust and into the mantle. Well, instead of ringing, it compressed. Well, that mantle is going to be forced out somewhere. And every single vent on the planet basically let loose at once. So, and every vent would be, every volcano, super volcano, geyser, you name it, that is, directly linked into the mantle, just blew. Well, you have a massive asteroid impact, and then you've got this volcanic event. What a lot of people don't realize is, when an asteroid strikes, what it throws up when it strikes, and usually it'll detonate before it even hits the Earth. It's called ejecta. It goes up into the atmosphere. Unfortunately, gravity is still a thing. So all of those particulates that go up into the atmosphere all have to come back down. So you essentially have billions of little meteoroids all raining down through the upper levels of the atmosphere and igniting, just like a meteorite would. So you literally had a firestorm that would have lasted anywhere from 18 to 24 hours. Temperature on the planet would have gone up to between 400 and 500 degrees Fahrenheit for about 12 to 16 hours, give or take. So yeah, you're talking 90 to 95% of all life on the planet is wiped out within 24 hours. Gone. Smoke, everything else like that would have blotted out the sun, creating a volcanic winter. So similar to what we knew growing up as, nuclear winter, same idea. And that would have lasted about 10 years before it would have started clearing off. Temperatures on the planet would have plummeted by about 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. So you would have had, glaciation. I mean, essentially another ice age. And then in the dark, so the survivors were trying to figure that one out. Then, after 10 years, it finally starts clearing off. And then you've got all that sulfur dioxide in the air that is now no longer ice, it's liquid. And so now you've got acid rain, and you've got an atmosphere that can't regulate temperature anymore. So now you have the temperature starting to skyrocket again. And, looking at the map, 400, 300 years later, you're missing about 40% of, the Earth's water. It is gone. And yep, 24, 23, that would be what Earth would look like at that point. Plant life is beginning to come back. But essentially evolution went mad. It's almost as if it went into survival mode. And evolutions that should have taken millions or billions of years were happening in hundreds of years. Mankind is beginning to exhibit esoteric abilities, psychic capabilities. You've got adaptations in animal life. Pretty much anything animal and plant that survived is predatory, because the only way that they can get water is through blood. So it is a very savage world.
I'm not going to use that as the link to get into the Savage Worlds, but it could have been good. So this is the bit that really sort of pulled me into this, because when you're looking at this map, you've got different locations here, and then there's a little key down here. You've got black ones, orange ones, and blue ones. So the black ones that's where all the sort of rich and the military people were. That's the right way around, isn't it?
Yep.
So they were all prepared, and that splashed out throughout the world. You've then got the Ashen strongholds, which are the orange ones. So if you want to run a Mad Max type world, that's going to give you this one. And then you get the coolest ones, which are the blue ones, because this is in the Mediterranean Sea, which would have been the Med, isn't it? These are Stargate Atlantis type space station, ship, sea stations, shall we say. And they've got this horrible rule that you created where they kind of control everything down, that you can't have any art, you can't have relationships or sex. The whole of humanity in those places is driven because it's to function, not to grow and have feelings and stuff. So it allows the games master, all the players, to sort of choose whatever game they want within one book. And then you've got the adventure at the end that actually takes, slight spoiler here, takes you through so you can actually, I don't know, I'm whispering in case anyone's watching. It actually takes you through the different places so you can actually interact with them properly, like a good book should. One of my criticisms of most books is there's no starting adventure. And your starting adventure goes, well, we're going to take you to this area and this area and this area so you can actually experience it properly. And then all the beasts in the back are they're all murder hobos. It's
they are
a good book. But that sadly didn't do very well, did it? I think.
No, about 68 copies since November.
Yeah. But you have got some good news on it, which you started telling me as in a message the other day, and I was like, "Don't tell me. Let's discuss it here." So, do you want to sort of announce it now? I think it's a good place to kind of.
Yeah. I have been writing with Savage Worlds. I have become a what they refer to as an ACE, licensed content creator for Pinnacle Entertainment, and I have translated Ashland into Savage Worlds Adventures Edition, and have named it Savage Ashlands. And it's about 30 to 40 pages, almost predominantly lore, and taking the talents and creating them as edges, and just setting the various factions up in the Savage Worlds environment, which it really plays in, perfectly to that, that game and its mechanics, because you don't have to write, a 240-page rule book. They've already got one, that can be used for anything. So you just adapt, what you need to the setting and go from there. So it is with Drive-Thru RPG right now. They are doing their due diligence on it. I'm hoping that they will give approval tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday at the latest, and then it will launch.
Sweet. And then I can review it, and it can be a really lazy review for me because I love the Savage World system and I love the Ashland world, so I don't really have to say anything. It'll take me 2 minutes. I didn't realize it was that far down, because that's why I didn't shut you up, so to speak. But if people tell me something before an interview, I then don't think to ask it because I already know it, so I don't feel I need to discuss it, if that makes sense.
Right.
So, but I think because it's one of the better that you see, because we were having the conversation on my Discord the other day, and we were talking, because there aren't many post-apocalyptic games out there at all. It seems to be the genre that I think is probably the most lacking.
Mm-hmm.
There's Western post-apocalyptic. There's quite a lot of those.
Oh yeah.
But there isn't many sort of futuristic ones. And the default for a lot of people is Fallout because of the computer game and obviously Modiphius. And I was like, well, actually, I'd play Ashland. I was going, oh yeah. And then people posted, they went, I've just found oh, it's you that did the review of this. And I was like, yeah, that's me.
Yep. Definitely try Savage Worlds Adventure Edition again. If you guys want to, set up a game, I'm sure I could manage to set something up.
Yeah. Wow, no pressure. You're doing the Good, the Bad, and the Savage this coming Friday, aren't you? So so I'm sure we can get. Well, we definitely will get Ashlands in because I want to play it. So
yes, absolutely,
we'll make that happen at some stage. But so the Savage Worlds again, it's one of those systems that I avoided for years because I thought it was a gimmick system, and then I finally, as you can see here, sort of pulled the plug on Deadlands and the original Pathfinder for Suede, and oh man, exploding dice are so swingy, but it's by far one of the best parts of the system, because people go, oh, I managed to pull out. When I was playing with RX Oliver on his, one of the sessions, someone pulled out 32 damage, which is just unbelievable. And that was off a D6.
Yeah.
And
we had one last night because they were playing some of my pre-gens that I'm actually going to be bringing next Friday. And the character has a D4 in common knowledge and rolled 3 exploding 6s on a common knowledge roll.
Yeah.
For like a 21. What? Oh my gosh, the guy's an idiot, but he knows that.
Yeah. So here you go. So see how many more we can get for ours. I'm going to say Atomic Shadows, the Shadow Dark version of it, which is a very good book, and Shadow Dark, which is makes it quite a nice, easy sell. And Brit always has to mention Year Zero.
Right?
The Mutant Year Zero world is really interesting.
Forbidden World, I think, is post-apocalyptic, isn't
it? Forbidden World. I don't think I've played it.
The one by Free League.
Oh, Forbidden Lands.
Forbidden Lands, yeah.
Yeah, but it's more fantasy, isn't it? So
it's like a fantasy post-apocalyptic thing, almost like a Thunder the Barbarian kind of thing.
Yeah. And by far probably the sweetest box set that money can buy. I think. I don't like the system, but those faux leather books and everything you get for what's it, $30? I think something like that. It is absolute bargain.
Oh yeah.
So how far? Because I know you had other ideas for Ashlands, so because you were looking at faction books and things like that. So now that's going Savage Ashlands, was it you saying?
Yep.
So does that now mean the plan is to carry on with the faction? So is that the end of the sort of the 2D20 as far as your point? And Suede is now the future for it.
Yeah. Yep. Yellow Hand does have the faction source books, and I will be translating those into Savage Worlds because I wrote 2 of the 3, and I'll figure out what to do with the third one, but I plan on combining them into a single volume, because of course I don't have to do most of the mechanics. It would be all setting.
Yeah.
So, you know, the longest one by far was Metropolians, and that was nearly 120 pages by the time it was done. And very cyberpunk, very dystopian type setup.
Well, you got to mess with your body. That sounds really. I was about to say you got to mess with your body when you're not allowed to have sex, and that
Phrasing.
yes, I knew what I meant, but
Right.
everyone else is going to take that completely wrong. While I'm recovering from that, do you want to answer this question?
Remember when a game you hosted, played through the years, and why? Okay. I think the most memorable moment I hosted was probably wrapping up a D&D campaign. We did Tyranny of Dragons, and it had lasted, probably a couple of years. And a friend of mine had moved out of the state, came back, and we ran the final episode, the whole 9 yards, the main battle. And I had planned, a finale for it. During the course of the campaign, we had lost, a couple few different characters. One of which was a dwarf cleric who had adopted the Dragonborn barbarian and his brother. Well, she had died in the course of the campaign. There had been a halfling rogue that had died during the campaign, and that Dragonborn barbarian Arjan had been, very much attached to her, to the point where she would tug on his finger, and he would put her on his shoulder. And when they, finally drove Tiamat back, into the nine hells and all of that, the god Moradin appeared and said, you have done the gods a service by what you've done here today. We will give you the opportunity to say farewell to those that you hadn't been able to in the past. And I brought those characters back out just for a brief moment. And the last thing that was done was that little halfling tugged on his finger one more time. And then I played Billy Boyd's The Last Goodbye.
Nice.
There was not a dry eye at that table, and I got called everything but a country gentleman.
Yeah.
But they still talk about it.
Yeah. I had this because I made a comment, because ongoing campaigns are absolutely epic. Because they are the sort of things you talk about. And the comment I made is that death is good in ongoing campaigns and shouldn't be something. It was something along those lines, and someone picked me up on it, and I went, what you're missing is exactly what you've just described there. That
Right.
Death shouldn't be feared. It should be used throughout the campaign and later on, and you use it to bring the players back into specific things.
Part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, because there aren't many films that you watch. Well, we were talking about it off camera before we started. I was like, how Top Gun Maverick would have been perfect if Tom Cruise's character had died at the end. Because
and as far as what I played, it was the final episode of our Star Trek campaign. 5 seasons, 13 episodes per season. So I was on my 60th plus adventure that I had run with that crew. And one of my player characters was killed. And the way that the player did it, calling out to the captain and just, and he was kind of a wisecracker. He says, things aren't going very well up here, sir. And then he knew that my captain is, a Tolkien fanatic. He's got actual physical copies of The Lord of the Rings. And he says, Captain, fly, you fools. And the tower that he was in exploded.
Yeah.
And I literally, because we all we did for that game was it was all written.
Yeah.
I got up from the computer and walked away because I was bawling. And not 2 days later, I had to give the command to destroy my own ship.
Yeah. It is good though. It's, you know, that
Mhm.
is the thing about this hobby that so many people. Well, I'm going to say mock that, you know, when they're looking out, you know, they're looking in, aren't they? That they've never done it, and these are things. You know, I've had the same group. I think you've had the same group for quite a long time as well. Kind of
Mhm.
get that. You know, I've had the same group for over 30 years, and we still talk and laugh about things that we did when we were at college and you know in our 20s and things that
Oh
we've
yeah.
done, and you know you've got loads of private in jokes that nobody else gets,
No.
you know, and
No.
it's such a wonderful thing to share
Mhm.
with other people.
Yeah. And I've tried to tell people because when I was going to hobby shops, I was having parents asking me to teach their kids how to play D&D because they didn't know how to use their imagination.
Yeah,
I mean, you talk something that broke my heart. Like, how? How do you even survive like that? All the things that I've learned through these games, leadership, compassion, courage, even when to retreat.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, they were characters that, they're on paper, but it's still, you learn from that.
I learned loads about weapons and guns just looking through
Mhm.
things like Twilight 2000. You know, it's
Oh
just
my
like
gosh, yes.
Millennium's End. You're just going looking through all these firearms, going because I live in a country where we don't talk about firearms because you know everything got taken out in the
Right?
the 90s. So you know, you're just looking at all these stuff and going, "Oh, this sounds amazing," and they go, oh, Desert
Hmm.
Eagle. And I can remember
Oh,
just
yeah.
being obsessed with Desert Eagles.
If
And
you've
then
ever fired one, you will fire one once.
yeah, yeah. But you then watch movies and you go, that's
Hmm.
this, you know, and it
Yeah.
does build an awful lot of additional knowledge. And even going into things like when you play medieval games and you can talk about parts of castles and moats and naming things
Oh,
and
yeah.
palisades and stuff, it does
Hmm.
add an awful amount of sort of world knowledge
Yeah.
to things. But I think the biggest thing for me is team building by a long way. You know, the ability to learn how to trust people, give commands without being an asshole,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and compromise
Hmm.
because you can't have role playing without that.
Right.
Well, you can, but I'm not coming back and playing your game the following week,
No,
you know.
exactly. There's a fine difference between, a leader and a manager or somebody that just gives orders.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think they should do role playing courses. You know, when they do, I don't know if they have them in America, those team building weekends where, you know, here's a few logs, try and cross a
Oh God, yes,
pretend
please.
river. Yeah. Let's actually no, let's just sit down and play Pathfinder First Edition,
Mhm.
you know, for a while, and then here you
Yeah,
go, get out of this cave alive.
and that'll keep the
Uh,
accountants happy.
Agile's he's threatening me to come and play with his guns. It's not a threat. It's one of my big motivations to get to
Oh
America
man,
at some stage. So
my father-in-law has 3 safes full, so believe me, come on out.
so I we're planning it at some stage, and you know, but when we come, it's going to be a big adventure because I hate flying, so it's going to be I'm going to take several months off work and things like that. And the plan, I love the thought of just sitting out on a ranch somewhere with rifles and guns and just shooting
Oh gosh, yeah,
with no one else around.
yep.
Um,
Road trip out to the Black Hills, man.
yeah, I want to go up all the way from the south, so I think it's sort of Texasy, all the
Right?
way right up to the north. But I don't want to go to the outside. I want to stick in the middle bit
Yeah,
and actually see America as opposed
yeah.
to, you know, I've seen, you know, I played Grand Theft Auto 5. I know exactly what Los Angeles looks like.
Right?
Because, you know, it is because you watch American films and you played that and you go, oh, so that's
Mm.
down here. I'm going to go back to this comment up here because I don't know what this is that Technobabble brought up. The movie Wizard. Does anyone know what the movie Wizards is? Because that means nothing to me.
Mm. Ralph Bakshi, he did the animated Hobbit, didn't he? Animated Hobbit, animated Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings
70.
that in the late 70s that they ran out of money and they just missed a whole book out. I remember watching that and then going, "When's the next bit, Dad?" And he was like, "There isn't one."
Nope.
Well, you
They
can't
did
do that.
Return of the King, and I went, you skipped like 3/4 of the book.
Yeah. But I recently watched Clear and Present Danger. And I don't know if you remember the Harrison Ford film, because that was meant to be a trilogy.
Yes.
And he only made the second one. And at the second one, he's there basically going into court, taking on the president. And then it ends. And you're like, so he's now almost dead. And he's not going to come back and do the third one. We're never going to see that. So, yeah, it's really annoying. I felt like I wasted my evening watching that because I'd forgotten about the end.
And being a huge Tom Clancy fan, you know, I was so excited when Patriot Games was going to come out because that was my favorite novel.
Yeah.
And they cast Harrison Ford, and I went, that's supposed to be before The Hunt for Red October. You know, wait a minute.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we've got a comment here. Yes, it's an animated. Actually, I think now we're saying that I've got an image in my head of cartoons. So, right, let's just get back then. Actually, let's not get that. Let's move on to the good, the bad, and the savage, which is I've got to go back to Britt's comment up here where I talked about a straight western, and I'm just going to share this. I don't know if you saw this. So
that's fair.
So yeah, there is no Brokeback Mountain. Well, there can be Brokeback Mountain in it if you want it.
Sure.
So,
what you do at your game table, that's totally up to you.
That's fine as long as there's no physical touching.
Right.
That's all the rules nowadays, isn't it? I don't think we're allowed to touch anymore. Do you know what? I have never, other than 2 sessions, ever played with a female role player.
Really?
Yeah, we had a girl that came when we were at college, came twice. She thoroughly enjoyed it, then never came back, even though saying that she really liked it, and it's never happened ever since. And there was I think once at a convention, but I'm one of these people. I've never played other than doing this channel. I've never played with anybody else other than my 6 or 7 sort of best mate group that I've had since college.
Right.
So
Brit,
yeah,
phrasing.
So I've done it again, haven't I? Gee, that's never happened.
What a shame.
So right, let's get into the good, the bad, and the savage. So this is it. Are we counting this as a trilogy, like a Sergio Leone type? We could do.
We could.
There's 3 of them.
Basically, it's almost like a focusing. Good, the Bad, and the Savage is like an overall setting, you know, for the Old West. And it lays out the groundwork for, you know, character types involving historical and cinematic, you know, Western characters, that kind of thing. But it kind of leaves things, you know, very generic. Redemption is mentioned in it towards the end as a sample Western town, but it really comes into its own as a setting in the Road to Redemption, and that I think that's what has really drawn people in. Redemption is essentially, if you're familiar with the United States, Keystone, South Dakota, Deadwood, right in the shadow of the Black Hills in what was then Dakota territory, you know, North and South Dakota now. My wife's family actually hails from that area, and I've been out there before. So it's an area I'm familiar with. And I wanted a town to just do whatever I wanted with, you know, something basic. And it has snowballed. I keep joking around. I've gone down the rabbit hole because I have literally a 5-year storyline for Redemption that I have completely mapped out.
Nice.
And it's basically, it will be the main campaign that I intend to run will run because the Road of Redemption begins 1885. There was a census that year in Dakota Territory. Congress began taking up the idea of, admitting Dakota Territory as state. Was it going to be one state? Was it going to be two states? How are they going to do it? I actually managed to find a ridiculously high res map that the Geographical Survey for the United States did of Dakota Territory. In fact, that's the superimposed image on the cover of the Road to Redemption is that map.
Let me just check that back up.
And looking at that map, I was like, okay, where would I put this thing? And if you look at the bottom corner there, down below the word "for," that's basically where Redemption is a place called Custer County. So it was transition. I arbitrarily came on 1885 because I wanted the Colt Peacemaker to be available. Because hey, what's a cowboy without a peacemaker, really?
Yeah.
But as I dove into it more, it was 1885 was really kind of a transitional year. It started bringing in the preparation for the 20th century, because the frontier was rapidly becoming settled. It wasn't going to be the frontier for much longer, for good or for ill. And as I began forming Redemption, I kept thinking about the name. Why did they choose that name? Why would that name be important? Because I started it out as just a mining community, which is what it would have been. 1874 they found gold and everything else like that in the Black Hills, and there was all that horrible nonsense that happened with Custer and all that, driving out Native Americans and everything. But it got started out being called Perdition, and they renamed it Redemption. And what it was is they have just a little bit of a different way of dealing with the area around them. Most of the people there are your typical, frontiersmen. But, for example, they have a working relationship with a nearby band of Native Americans, Paradise Bluff, which very unusual for that area. You have a massive cattle ranch to the east of the town, Sackett Valley Ranch, that is run by a woman, widow, and her two sons. You're talking a 50,000 acre ranch, and 5,000 head of cattle. So she's absolutely one of the most wealthy people in the entire county. You've got the railroad coming in. They would have built a smaller railroad at the time, to get out to the mines in the Black Hills and that kind of thing. It would have been a smaller gauge railroad. But in 1885, you had a major railroad literally build a town south of where Redemption is. Town is called Buffalo Gap, still there. And they ran the railroad north to Rapid City, which is the largest city there. And again, just serendipity, it passed directly through where I had laid out Redemption. Well, you've got a cattle ranch that has 5,000 head of cattle. That's a lot of money. Even if you're not a very happy camper with the person running the ranch, that's still income that you can't afford to pass up. So the railroad will come 1886, and it starts going gangbusters after that. So it leaves stuff so wide open. But I've got, God, probably 30 to 35 named NPCs already, just in Redemption and some of the surrounding area.
It's vast. As I say, the amount of NPCs you've got and like the little backstories you've got in there, and you can kind of actually, if I just show it on from the contents, you can kind of see just how much is in
Thank you,
here.
Britt.
Here we go. This is just full of notable NPCs and stuff across.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then here we go. And I always love it when nicknames are given to NPCs, because it just gives in a name, because nicknames in NPCs are they're always deliberate, I think, in role-playing games.
Yeah.
So that, they're not like, oh, what's your nickname? Mushroom. Why is it Mushroom? Oh, it's just because of what I wanted. They're always something deliberate. So, you've got here like Hangman Bill Franks. Mm-hmm. Okay, we know probably what he does. And Silas King Ransom. There's always something more sinister because naming anything as a games master is the worst thing ever. They go to a town and you come across an old man that you want to, and my will go, what's his name? What what's he look like? What's he smell like? You're like, really? I've got to name what he smells like as well. Because my group are horrible. And they're like, it's like a person that it's not even important. He's just there to point you to where the saloon is. That's all you need him for.
But for immersing,
yes,
your players. That's what draws them in.
No, mine are gits. But some of the best times we have, though, are when they come back to places and then they seek out the people. So I've now, over the years, I've learned to start writing the names down of these people. Mm-hmm. I think we've got that. Smells of elderberries and wine, obviously.
Of course.
So, you Brit's got your bundle. Look at that.
Thank you.
That's what you were saying. Thank you, Brit, for as I was going through this. So, Redemption is just your campaign setting, isn't it? So that's just in there with like, obviously you've got a few hooks and stuff, and then we've got the Preacher and the Devil, which is this the start of your 5-year journey?
It is part of it. The games that I'm going to be running online will actually kind of be back a little bit from that, because they'll start in July of 1885. The Preacher and the Devil is actually set in October of 1885, but it can absolutely be set, anytime you want it to be. But I set it up. The Preacher in Redemption, last name Brinks, is actually named after a real individual who has sadly since passed away. He was the minister that married my wife and I. Very much a very gentle, bookish individual, but a more powerful man of God, to put it in that way, than I have ever met. He lived what he said. And he ended up moving out to South Dakota and passed away from cancer not too long afterward. So when I created Redemption, I named the minister Brinks in his honor. And the whole idea behind the devil was I heard a nickname for the devil, Old Scratch. And that is a very uniquely American frontier and Southern way of saying the devil.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And I had done a song, I had written a lyric that was with a prayer on your lips and a hand on your gun, you'll find out what matters when the devil has come. And the thought just stuck in my mind, what happens if the devil does come? And it turns out, this preacher had been a bounty hunter at one time, gunslinger, and a very good one. Thought he had finished off a very sadistic bad man, and hadn't. Barn had burned down around him. He had been shot. So this preacher thought he was dead. moved west, hung up his guns, and this individual comes hunting him, and scarred up in the face and everything, and he took on the nickname Old Scratch.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Mhm.
And what they're talking bundles, because I found it and put the link in. It's an absolute bargain.
Yeah.
Getting it's almost free, and in my opinion, disgusting just how cheap you've made it. I think it's for the amount of stuff you've got in here and the time you put in, I think you're underselling it. If well, I've read it, so it's easier for me to say that, isn't it? So
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the character sheet was created by my best friend's wife, Bree Netto, and she is working on a form fillable character sheet for it. And anytime I hit a milestone, copper seller, silver seller, I put out a freebie. So I've done Dakota County, Redemption Dakota County was a freebie. I did Sinner's Thirst Saloon, and the NPCs in the area was another freebie. So, just a little something. NPC cards I did, they're not the greatest, but, it's got everybody you need.
yeah, and it's one of those things, isn't it? They're up there, and you may, I say approve on them. I haven't looked at them, but obviously as time goes on and more money comes in, it might be something you go back and go, do you know what? Because the cards, I really do like having cards, but I backed a Kickstarter recently where I could get some cards, and I'll never do it again. Because the cards cost me $15. I then got the shipping invoice from Drive-Thru-RPG because Drive-Thru-RPG only print the cards in the US. There's no domestic printing. I didn't know that. Yep. It may or may not have been in the Kickstarter project, but I was too excited, thinking this is quite a bargain. I'll have these. And then they wanted something like £40.
Oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the least.
And I was like, do you know what? I've lost the $15. Just keep my money.
Yeah.
I'm happy to back someone. I was a little bit upset by that.
I've looked into a couple of things. Just looking for images that I wanted to use for Redemption, because I wanted to avoid AI. There's just too much negative sentiment about it right now.
Yeah.
And I stumbled on a place out in South Dakota called 1880 Town. Never heard of it before. And it was a character actor in Westerns had bought up, like movie sets, ghost town buildings, had them brought out to this site about 2 hours east of Keystone and renovated them and set up, basically an old West town. And I was like, man, this is really neat. And they did a shot down Main Street, and the church is right at the end of Main Street. And I stopped dead and went, that's Redemption. That is exactly the way that I had pictured Redemption, was the church at the end of the street. So just on a wild hair, I sent a message on Facebook to 1880 Town, just said, hey, you guys mind if I use your images? I've been, more than happy to cite you, whatever. And got a message back a couple days later, said, sure, yeah, go ahead, just, give us a shout out. So I worked up a little a frame. You'll see it when I do my my live play, and it said 1880 official town of Redemption.
Am I allowed to do this? Because
Absolutely.
you did send these to me.
Yep.
This is the map that's the back of the book, isn't it? The front cover of the book. I think then what we were just talking about.
Yep.
There's a load of artwork. There's a load of artwork to the left. I'm not sure whether you want me to show that as well, but I'm going to go right, which is it should be fingers crossed.
Custer County, and the two counties above it,
and then your Buffalo Gap here. But
and Sackett Valley now, if you look
at
that map there, goes all the way to Black Wind Pass. That's how big that ranch is.
Well, that's the one. That's the woman with the 5,000 cattle. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
We should marry her.
Right. Yeah.
It's a good idea.
50,000 acres. Basically, her husband, because the Homestead Act was in play back then. In fact, my wife's grandfather got his land in South Dakota from the Homestead Act.
Yeah.
And what that was 160 acres. You had to work 60 of it. And if you were able to work it for 5 years, it was yours. So this woman and her husband and her younger kids at the time had gotten their 160 acres, and he had a little bit of money set aside, so he doubled it. Bought up had 320 acres, and the local cattle baron tried to buy it from him for pennies on the dollar, and he basically told him, you can go to hell. And the cattle baron on the way out said, "We'll see who gets there first." Well, this man went to Rapid City and nearly broke the ranch by taking out a life insurance policy. And about 8 months later, he was gunned down.
Yeah.
$75,000 later, in 1885, bought 50,000 acres of land, 5,000 head of cattle, and was enough to build the buildings on the ranch.
Imagine. I wonder what's the size of the ranch in Yellowstone, because that's the only way I can get any frame of reference.
Oh boy.
So,
I think it's big. I want to say it's bigger than that.
Is it? Yeah. Not that you ever see the whole thing in that TV series, but even my wife would like that, and she's not a massive Western.
The Pioneer Woman on like the cooking shows, Pioneer Woman. Her husband is a rancher, and I know his ranch is probably about the size of Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's 775,000 to 825,000 acres in size.
Yeah.
Because the thing he owns it, isn't that? It's the 360s, which is the guy's ranch, isn't it? The guy that wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
He actually bought the 360s or 4. Is it 360s or 460s? I can't remember now. I watched the last season and I was really upset.
Right. But for 1885, 50,000 acres, that's huge.
It's huge now, isn't it? It's unbelievable. So this is the reenactment town that you were talking about, isn't it?
Yep. This would be the schoolroom there. And it's funny because I can look at these pictures and I can tell you who's there. What the NPC is that's there.
Yeah.
This is actually a public domain photo that I found. It just had mining supplies. It was general store, and I didn't see the old Ford pickup truck in the background until I blew it up later. I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking it down.
You just know everyone's going to finish this, then go and start playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep. There you go. That gives you a look at Saco Valley Ranch. And that would be what it looks like on satellite.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is actually off of Google Maps. That is the location. I was able to find it, narrow it down. Just I'm that ridiculous sometimes.
Man's got to do what man does, I find.
Oh, man. And I went ground view and just looked over the land. It was like, I'm in Redemption. This is amazing.
But this is how obsessed we get. My wife today cooked steak, and it's not Wednesday. And she was like, "Why are you moaning?" I was like, "Because it's not Wednesday. Because we always have steak on a Wednesday." And she was moaning to her mum, that the person that she has to live with, which obviously is me.
No, this 1880 town has a rail that runs through it. I don't know if it connects to anything, but they actually do rent costumes there. There's, I think it's either the town hall or the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
And you can rent costumes and go walk around, have, do pictures and all that kind of stuff.
I'm hoping these are just all Western pictures for the rest of them.
Mhm. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So there's going to be no spoilers of anything else in here.
No. Mayor's office. Yeah, that's the image that got me.
See, because that's weird to me, because I'm
Mhm.
used to, my only frame of reference for Westerns is computer games and movies and
Mhm.
TV shows. And there was never any grass.
No, because it
So,
was Dodge City,
yeah.
Dodge City, Kansas, and then Tombstone, of course, was Arizona. There wouldn't be any grass there.
Yeah. It just
But
it looks weird, doesn't it?
yeah, it
So,
seems odd. And in all fairness, I mean that road there, that would be all dirt, dirt, mud, depending on the time of year, because
yeah.
wagons going over it all the time. General store,
It just reminds you of Four Candles, that.
right? And
Does that mean anything to an American? The two Ronnies?
which
Probably
one?
not. The Four Candles sketch. The two Ronnies. No, probably not.
I
Carry
have
on.
to think about that one. This one is again public domain. There's a website that does all kinds of public domain stuff, and just searching for Dakota Territory. And this would be a wagon train that was passing through Dakota Territory in I want to say it was like the 1870s, when they first really had the rush, setting up the boom towns.
Yeah, it says it's related to Deadwood, so between Sturgis and Deadwood. I think that's what that says there, isn't it?
Yep.
Is that Route 66, isn't it, Sturgis? It's not the famous route.
Sturgis is the famous motorcycle
Bike route.
rally is in Sturgis.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of 60. Is it?
Yep.
I see. Yeah.
Yep.
So again, oh look, Fanny's Park. Let's move on. Is that old again? This one's old, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
This is a corral and ranch from Dakota Territory out there.
Yeah.
And then same thing, they colorized it.
That's
But
smart.
that would have been the beginnings of a run. That is actually the Black Hills.
And we're into back.
And, public domain art. That's the saloon in 1880 town. And it, fully functioning bar, bar, tavern. They do food there, alcohol, you name it. And he did a masterful job of restoring that.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And of course, it wouldn't be South Dakota without a severe storm. I
was going to say, it looks like the sort of stuff that isn't going to survive a hurricane. But I guess South Dakota probably doesn't. Did you get them all across America? I don't know.
Hurricanes are on the coast, but you get tornadoes in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
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 In fact, the oldest known photo of a tornado is Dakota 1884.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Right. Excellent. Right. What I want to do now, let's look at the main book that has sold quite a few. So what have we got? That's back when my COC. Yeah, I played in Brits, Down Darker Tales, Call of Cthulhu. It couldn't even kill me off. I had to leave because I was starting other stuff, and my channel was getting bigger and bigger, and I was like, I need to sort of cut back on some of my games. And I was like, look, I want to go out in a blaze of glory.
Right.
And I ended up on one hit point, and he ended up murdering someone that wanted to carry on in the campaign. Which is always the way he's just said.
Of course.
He tried it, but it's the way it falls. I was quite happy to die. Blaze of glory, helping save people, and it just didn't work out. So Techno knows who the two Ronnies are. So I'm not quite on my own. Okay, right. Let's have a look at the cool book, because you've got some good stuff in here, and as well, you do what I think all Westerns should have. And I'm not going to talk about a recent review I did, But what you do is you've got a load of historical people in here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I always find it really annoying when you don't have them. I know they're not essential, but I think it's good to compare you as the player to the sort of power level as well. But it also gives the games master, well, if they've got stats, you can kill them, so to speak. Let's go and kill Wyatt Earp. Why not?
I actually got that idea. Steve Jackson, when he did GURPS Old West, had stats for, oh my gosh, everybody. And then Boot Hill ended up doing it in 3rd edition for, like the Lone Ranger and a lot of your Hollywood stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I really liked that in the few times I was able to play it. And I wanted to do that with mine.
Mm. Boot Hill 3rd edition was a very good game.
Oh my gosh, I had more fun with that stupid thing.
Yeah, if you ever got injured, you were out for months.
Oh yeah, you're not kidding either. Boy,
it was proper realistic. Yeah, I'd forgotten it had the set, because it had sort of like Johnny Ringo and everyone, the whole who's who, and then there was the little section of you could play anyone that was on TV, and some of because they had the separate quick draw stat, didn't they? You had all your normal stats, and then quick draw, and there was one of the TV characters had a 30, which meant you rolled a d20 and added 10 to the roll. And yeah, it was just really good.
Yep.
Hold on, let's just read this. One player was doomed, so he took out a grenade and wanted to take the beastie out with him. Another player grabbed a grenade and tossed it.
Oh, jeez.
I recently had it in our Soulbound campaign. Neil was trying to, and I didn't know this, he was trying to kill off his character. So he was, and the games master knew, because he just didn't like his character, and he went, "Look, I want to sort of do something heroic." And he was basically standing by this corrupted tree, and I'm playing. I've talked about it before, but I'm like this Iron Man dwarf, so I was like flying in, giving up my attacks to fly in to try and grab him to save him. And he was like, "No, leave me." I nearly died. We nearly all died, because obviously the tree wasn't getting attacked. And eventually Paul just did that whole, the tree sort of grabbed him and sucked him in one hit. So we then killed the tree. And we're like tearing the tree apart, and he goes, "Oh no, he's already dead." And at the end, Neil went, "I wanted to die."
Right. Yeah, if you ever do want to play,
I've got a copy of Boot Hill as well. I have.
That was one of the first things I did when I started getting any kind of income off of Good, the Bad, Savage. Like, I have wanted that for years. I'm going to get it.
Yeah, I've only got a PDF copy of it, because over here, every time I've found one, it's been quite expensive.
Oh yeah.
So
this was print on demand with TTRPG. So
that's a good idea. Yeah, I could always loot. Lulu's a little bit cheaper over here.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So, but the only thing I struggle with Lulu is the covers. They're always a little bit out in my mind. I don't know if print on demand. I suppose because drive-through do it all, don't they? Their end, which is easier. Right. Let's get back to the core rulebook. Well, technically, it's kind of the core rulebook, isn't it? Because it's got the rules and the interesting fast draw mechanics. Because you've had to change this, because it's my first initial bit when you sent me this. I was like, okay, I don't get it. I can always play Deadlands and take the weird out. And you've cleverly managed to make this significantly different, so it's not a Deadlands clone, because that could have been a very easy thing to do. And you haven't, which is to your credit.
Thank you.
So, and we've got hyperlinks, which is good. But it's nice because it's only 28 pages, so it is short, and 2 of those pages are index, and then some of the other pages are sort of NPCs. But what I want to do is I've got a full review of this coming out, so I'm not going to spoil my review. I'm spoiling it because we're talking about it anyway. So it may or may not do quite well in my reviews. But
Technobabble, it could be compatible with Deadlands because it is Savage Worlds, but it's not supposed to be. Let's put it that way. As written, it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, because I own both. I see these as two completely separate games. Because Deadlands, you're going to be able to heal an awful lot quicker. So you can make those decisions to sort of just wail in an attack without trying to worry about the impact of stuff. Deadlands doesn't do drawing and quick draw very well, which is surprising for a game that is based around Westerns, where you've kind of gone, do you know what? We're going to make these mechanics and I'm going to make them interesting. So obviously you've got new skills, new edges, and you've done that. I'm going to name them. I'm your Huckleberry, Regulators Mount Up. They've all got 90s Western titles, haven't they? Like very quotable man quotes, so to speak, if that makes sense. Because the things we all hear and go, yeah, I know that film. Because you can't hear I'm your Huckleberry without Val Kilmer's voice.
I've actually got it as my notification tone, so
okay.
Can't help it.
Yeah, I still think Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo is the best person in that film. Then Val Kilmer, if that makes sense. It was such a good man's man film. I made my girlfriend at the time go to watch several times at the cinema because and she wasn't impressed. And the one thing I like about Tombstone is the fact it was all real facial hair as well. They all deliberately grew their facial hair for that film. There was nothing stuck on. Obviously, new skills have coming in, new archetypes: lawman, outlaw, cowboy, boy, girl, scout, gambler, healer. So you can heal. It's going to take a while. Preacher, and then the unconventional one, the wandering monk, which I think is that the one that's going to be based on, because you've got a ninja class, haven't you? Which is technically off the monk.
It was actually based off of the TV show Kung Fu.
Okay, no. So where does the ninja kick in?
Somebody on the Discord channel mentioned they wanted to play a ninja.
Oh, I misread it. I thought that there was you had a ninja in there, so that'd be why then. Okay, no, that's fine. Because I was trying to work out where the ninjas fitting in this, or am I missing it? So that would make sense. And I was like, is it going to be the Wandering Monk, or is it going to be the Masked Avenger? Even though the Masked Avenger is obviously, I'm guessing, Zorro type character.
Yep, or Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger. That's what I meant. Lone Ranger, not Zorro.
Either one of them would work.
Zorro isn't Zorro Mexican with a sword. He doesn't have a gun.
Los Angeles. So
it
was Mexico at the time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always had it in my head. He was Mexican. I don't know why. So look at that. That's it's my fault for being a kid. But then that's why. So obviously new edges and things. But yeah, I want to get into the quick draw mechanics here, which is your showdown, which is just done slightly differently, which I like. And you can do, then you got the cinematic stunts as well, so you can dive for cover and stuff. But you do sort of play this off as it's just a lot more serious than Deadlands, because it has to be, really.
Yeah, it's it is historic with a little bit of cinematic rolled in.
Yeah. So we'll just do the showdown one. So each participant is given a single action card. So that's in addition. And so that replaces, I'm guessing the way I read this, that replaces the initiative card.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the highest card goes first. You narratively resolve the action, whether you do social, combat, or other contests. If tied, showdown continues. And then obviously you can use your bennies and stuff like that, and edges or hindrances to sort of take it in. And then you've got rules for knife fights, saloon brawls, and it's serious, straight Western. But I've got to say, there's a little bit of tongue in cheek to sort of 60s and 70s sort of Western TV shows. Feels a little bit that as well, despite being not weird. But there is weird touches to it, isn't there?
Yes.
Yep. Do you want to kind of explain where that is?
Sure. Folklore, ghost stories, that kind of thing. it's very much a part of the Old West. Still is. You go out there and there are ghost towns and there are old legends about, spectral locomotives and whatever else. So it's always been a part of the Old West. And I wanted to pay homage to that without going over the top with it, but kind of give GMs the option, hey, if you want to do more with this, by all means. So I created a couple of legends. The Stony Brook mines, which are to the west of Redemption, had a partial collapse about 6 or 7 years before, and where 10 miners were killed. That part of the mines is believed to be haunted, and I kind of leave it ambiguous. Is it? Don't know. People have claimed that they've heard voices. There's, lanterns have gone out on their own, kind of thing. Just that. I wonder if there is something there. Angel Song Canyon is known to have what they call a gray man. South Dakota has a ghost story, goes back a couple hundred years, called the Gray Man. And the Gray Man supposedly appears right before a hurricane strike and is, basically warning of doom, disaster, that kind of thing. So this is the same thing. They'll see this person. They don't know exactly what's going on with it. And again, it's, up to the GM to decide if it's real or not.
They're always weird, aren't they? Because I think every place has those sort of ghosty sort of aspects to it. Because humans are weird. We do kind of like to believe stuff. And then in chapter 10, you've got a sort of a campaign in here, and then you've got some adventure siege, which is good. But if that's not enough, we're then gonna just show you. If I unshared, I have. And this is included as well in your little set. And I'm not going to go too far into this because this is actually an adventure, which is the Preacher and the Devil. So we're going to go here. And then, so this is 18 pages. And I'm going to go, here you go. There, that's what you get. Do you want to just explain the plot of this without sort of...
Yep. The plot is there is an outlaw group called the Black Wind Boys. Black Wind is a pass that comes out of the plains area of South Dakota into where Redemption is. And they are led by an outlaw named Old Scratch. So anybody that's been out in the frontier for any length of time knows that name, knows that Old Scratch is supposed to be the devil. And they've been, burning barns. They've just, murdering. They're the worst kind of outlaw. And this Old Scratch has made no bones about the fact that he wants the Reverend in Redemption dead and is coming for him. So the player characters end up becoming part of a posse that gets called out of Redemption to deal with a train robbery that was done by the Black Wind Boys. So they are out dealing with that. There's things going on in other areas of, in and around Redemption. And it eventually leads to being part of kind of a historic moment for Redemption. It's where it's almost like a battle for Redemption's soul at the end. You literally have the devil and this preacher facing off, and the PCs are there, just hands on their guns, going, "Do we get? What do we do? Do we get involved? Do we let this play out? Because matter of honor here. So this is a mano a mano kind of thing, but you watch and see what happens.
Yeah. So you've left me with a weird thought, because I was going to review these set. Well, I was going to do the campaign setting, and then the good, the bad, and the savage, just 2 reviews. But it almost makes sense just to hit them all in one review, I think, and link it with your. How long's your Silver Celebration bundle lasting for?
I'm thinking about having it go through at least through my mom's birthday, which was September 28th.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I think it probably makes sense. I was gonna do 2, but it probably makes sense just to do 1, because I suppose because the good and the bad and savage is going to be quite a short one, isn't it? Well, that's actually it's the longer one, because I don't tend to spend I don't know. I'll work it out. Yeah, one's probably palatable for me, because I can get that done easier than 2, because the second one's going to take a while to come out. But
honestly, you could probably just roll the 2 of them together, because one is going to dovetail in with the other.
Yeah. So because the only one I hadn't read is I haven't read the starting, the Preacher and the Devil, because I try not to do that until I'm going to do it, and then because you got to kind of read it and not spoil it, which is really difficult to do. So I don't. I was talking to Pookie about it yesterday, just off camera, and he was like, "Do you know what?" Because he's happy to do spoilers on adventures, because he's like, well, at the end of the day, when you're reviewing a book, this is you're reviewing it. Because like me, he reviews from a games master's point of view, not from a player point of view. So if a player watches it, he's of the opinion it's on them, it's their fault. But I like to tease adventures for players to, give this a go if you want to be a games master as well. So it's you try to talk about it without spoiling it too much. But yeah, so the bundle, let's just show the bundle again, which so far you've sold 3 off this.
Excellent, thank you.
So in the bundle, the mighty bundle oh, how brains work sometimes. So we've got, obviously this is in normal money as opposed to, so what's it, $4? Got to be around about there, $4.
Yeah, 3 or 4,
yeah, $4. So you're going to get the key citizens. So is this done as a separate, is this like a separate handout part?
Yep, it's one of my freebies. I did that when Road to Redemption hit silver.
Yeah. Okay. So I need this one. I haven't got this one then. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think so.
No. Someone else to grab. Okay. Character sheet, the good, the bad, and the savage is in there. Obviously, the Preacher and the Devil, which is your starting adventure. The Road to Redemption, which is the campaign setting. Did you say that's the one that's selling more, that's outsold the rest?
It's selling faster.
Yeah.
Good, the Bad, and the Savage had a good head start. As of this morning, I want to say it was right about 145 copies that had sold. Yeah. And Road to Redemption, I think it was like at 120 some.
That's good. And I was right. It's exactly $4. There you go. So I've managed to get my conversion, and say what I'll do is I'll put a link to this in the video description as well, and also I'll put a link to it when my review goes out. So I'm hoping my review will go out tomorrow or Saturday. So I've freed enough time to record and edit this tomorrow. So fingers crossed. No, I'm gonna say tomorrow. If someone's watching this, I always try to not put time things in. So what I want to end with, so I've got a couple of questions to end, and I think we already know this though, is sort of like, what are you working on next? And
what am I not working on?
And this is the answer to one of them, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, which you sent me the other day, and I was like, okay, again, stop talking to me about it. And I'm really excited for this. I'm not saying that I'm not excited. I'm always like a kid when it comes to role playing, and I think it's Mr. Mean talks about this. Is when we were younger, there was we wanted all the games, but we didn't have the money, but we had the time to play.
Right.
Now we've got the money to buy everything that we need to buy. What we haven't got is the bloody time to play it.
Oh boy.
So,
yeah. And you figure right now on my Foundry for Good, the Bad, and the Savage, I actually have 4 games that are set up. Because I've got a Saturday game that runs every other Saturday. I've got a friend of mine that I run every other Wednesday. Was it Tabletop Journeys wants me to do a Patreon game for them. And then I've got the Dungeons Dyslexia live play coming up next Friday, and quite possibly a Dungeons and Dyslexia ongoing campaign.
are you, because you were looking at Pendragon, are you going to carry on doing an ongoing campaign for the Good, the Bad, and the Savage?
Yeah, because Pendragon would be like a once a month thing.
Yeah.
And I would be sharing GM duties with that, so that wouldn't be that big a deal for me. And as far as Good, the Bad, and the Savage goes, it really doesn't even feel like GMing. It really doesn't. I ran it last night with my friend and his kids, and it was just like telling a story.
Yeah. Yeah. As you're saying, you got a game next Thursday with him. So is that the one is that one you're running on my Discord?
Next Thursday, I believe that would be the Holler. He's running Holler.
Okay.
I play in a Holler game on Thursday nights.
Yeah, it's all right. You can cheat on me. That's fine. I don't mind. If I've been offered someone's wife tonight, so that's absolutely fine. Share the love, I say. Mythic Bastion Land. So yeah, we're reviewing Mythic Bastion Land in 2 weeks' time on our live reviews. So yeah, you are live. We're live next Friday, which is going to be, what date's next Friday? I was going to write it down. The 5th, 8 p.m. British summertime. So that goes out on my other channel, the Dungeons and Dyslexia Tabletop Tales, I think I called it. It's something like that. Again, it's all linked in there. But yeah, so do you want to just sort of finish on, obviously we've got Savage Ashlands that's coming out in the next couple of days, you're hoping, and I'll share that everywhere on all my socials as well, so when that's out. But yeah, so if you got anything that you can kind of tell us that you're working on.
I plan on working on more adventures for Road to Redemption. I want to get the campaign done. Actually work out the full campaign. I'm seriously contemplating making it a novel. I've literally been writing dialogue, for Pete's sake. I want to get the faction books out for Savage Ashlands. Want to get those out and into people's hands. The Haven adventure that I did for Ashlands, I'm going to be translating that over into Savage Ashlands as well. I like the story. It was fun to put my hometown into an RPG because it never has been. So why not?
Yeah.
I'm the writer. I can do what I want. Darn it.
You can.
And I actually had somebody ask me, because the climax of that adventure takes place in tunnels underneath one of the hospitals here in Kalamazoo. And he asked me, "Are those real?" Yes, they are real, and they're creepy as all hell now. I don't even want to know what they would be like then. Because that's where the morgue is. You took a wrong turn and you're in it.
So what sort of time frames have you got for sort of because you say you've got a 5-year campaign for the Good, the Bad, and the Savage?
Yep.
And obviously you got the first part out, you want to write. How many sort of parts do you think it's going to be?
I'm thinking 1885 will probably be probably another 1 or 2 adventures that will lead into the Preacher and the Devil. Kind of basically be like a prequel to Preacher and the Devil. Preacher and the Devil will kind of close out 1885, because then winter is going to be setting in and not much happens in the Dakotas during winter, believe me.
Yeah.
And then in 1886, you've got the railroad moving in. So I'll probably put out, I want to try to do 3 or 4 per year of the campaign. And then, possibly eventually, put them all into one big volume or whatnot. But at first, just, put them out there, a couple bucks a piece at, 15, 20 pages a piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can release a novel. You can't release a novel until you're finished with the campaign.
Right. Because I have to know what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So Semper's asked a question, and actually we talked about this just before we put cameras on, didn't we?
Yeah. I would not be opposed to writing more Star Trek. I have not been approached by the Modifius to write more. They actually have 2 more of my adventures that I have been paid for. I wrote them almost 2 years ago now. So, I mean, I actually wrote them before 2nd edition. Jim Johnson has them in his possession, so I don't know if they're going to be doing a book with those or not. Don't know.
You think they've got to do some adventures for it, haven't they? Because
I would hope so.
So because I'm not buying any of the 1st edition stuff, even though it's probably quite compatible.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Because
we were part of the play test on it.
Yeah.
From the word go, when they first announced it, most of us in the Pioneer crew were play testing it. And that was one thing that we hammered on, because Aaron Pollier basically wrote the Utopia Planitia source book. And the way that they were putting it out at first was basically going to make that obsolete. And we went, no, you don't. A lot of people paid a lot of money for that book. No.
Yeah, that's if you're going to do a 2nd edition quite quickly, you've got to make everything pretty compatible. If you leave it 10 years, I think that's fine.
Sure.
That's not that quite insulting.
And Jim Johnson's actually been so like your department books. He's been going back and making those updated for 2nd edition, which has been really nice. And I think they're planning to do the quadrant books.
Yeah. Now we want to see this, so you get sued by Chris Birch. We don't really want to see you get sued by Chris Birch, but I'd imagine there's all sorts of legalities. You could call it Star Troy.
Sure.
Yeah,
I could do that.
Yeah, and then just change things ever so slightly.
Wagon train to the stars.
Yeah, because Battlestar Galactica got away with it, didn't they? They didn't get sued heavily by LucasArts.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. Staff Dice Crew about that one.
Yeah. No, that was good. Troy, it's been amazing having you on. Good luck with the Good, the Bad, and the Sad. I don't mean good luck. It's absolutely flying. And I've been delighted to be involved with it, because you sent it to me very early on.
Day one.
And I was like, go and get some art for this. And you were like, I don't know where to go. And I was like, well, there's loads of free. And I sent you some links to some free places. And then within a day, I think you'd sent it back to me going, here you go. And I was like, this is so much nicer. But the community is ace. I just reached out to Chubby Funster. And I was like, where do you get a load of your free art from? And he just sent me the link, and then I just sent it on to you, because this community is ever so nice and helpful.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So incredibly.
I've been very grateful between the Star Trek community and your community. They've been amazing.
Yeah, it's good. It's really joyous, and it's nice spending time with you, because we met over Sentience, and we had 2.5 hours of laughter, even though there was a very weird cat in it.
Yes.
That was hard work. Was that hard work for you, listening to that cat?
It was. It was. But playing Saint helped.
Yes. Yeah. Sentience is it's a really good game, you know.
Mhm.
And again, you know, I'll get out. I had an interview with Al very early on, so I'm sure once we get his UFO game out, then I'll get him back.
Oh yeah.
And have some of this. But yeah, I'll get you back on because obviously I want to talk to you about Savage Ashlands when well, I'm not going to get you on next week. I think I'm booked till November now, and my wife's going, "Are you going to be doing this every night and every week?" And I'm like, "Seems that way. It does seem that way." But luckily,
that is a good thing to have.
Yeah, like you know, I do have quite a chunk of days where I'm free because I've managed to maneuver my main job into 2 days a week, which is all right until my MD finds out.
Right.
Because you have a workload, so you know I get paid the same.
Yep.
You know, so as long as I get it done, I can get away with it. Is the way I view it. So as long as I don't put it out there, you know, in the internet for people to listen to.
Yep, absolutely.
So, but no, Troy, thank you for your time. Everyone else, thank you for your comments.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Adrian.
And for your questions. It's been good. We'll get you back on to say Friday night, the 5th of September. So we'll be back playing, and several people on my Discord are already signed up to play for it. And we will definitely be running Savage Ashlands when we're doing it. And I'm going to push you to run a Star Trek 2nd edition, I think, at some stage.
Oh, I think I could manage that.
You can manage that. Because those lives, I can't possibly run the technology and run a game. I've got no hope of managing to do that all at the same time. So, but everyone, thank you for watching. Obviously, go and grab, I think, well, there's a fair few people have already bought it. Good, Bad, and Savage. Obviously, Savage Ashlands is going to be amazing because Ashlands is a very good setting with a very good world, very good system, and exploding dice, and a lot more to come. And then, obviously, who doesn't love westerns? So you've picked two of the good things. The next, just put something with dinosaurs in. Dinosaurs and Vikings, and again, I'll be all excited. So one day I'll actually work on some of my ideas for stuff, and I'll actually give it a go. But
there you go.
Yeah, thank you, Troy. Thank you for your time. Everyone
Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe to the channel, go and buy Troy's stuff, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
See you, everybody.
Bye. That's so loud, that start and end, isn't it?